why is this happening to me again? And that chapter of that book provides a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. You can also click on a link and download that actual worksheet. It's a PDF file. No sign-up required. Just click on the link, download it, print it off, use it as often as you'd like. It's a tool I've been using to great advantage in my life for 17 years to improve the quality of my life and relationships. And the way I've been talking about it lately is to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of that infallible guidance system that we've all been given. From that page, you can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through that worksheet process. If you listen to those, it will give you a tutorial for how to make the best progress with this tool, put it to best use in your life. Some of those radio shows contain testimonials of people who have been actively applying these tools to their lives and talked about the benefits. And some of those shows are talking about the principles that lie behind these simple tools that Michael and Jeannie Ryce make available. And you can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. And if you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet process, an abbreviated version of that process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game. We hope you do that soon and often because it will probably help you improve your life quality and relationships and manage your emotions. It will also most likely spark some comments or questions. If that happens, we'd be happy to entertain them here. That's why we're here. Our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And if you call that number and press 1, we'll have a conversation. Today is the 161st day of the year, and that's relevant because we're doing the Course in Miracles lessons from the workbook. And today's lesson says very simply, give me your blessing, Holy Son of God, Holy Son of Love, Holy Offspring of Creation. Give me your blessing. And as I read through the commentary for today's lesson, I found it to be one of the more convoluted, double negative kinds of commentaries. And so I'm going to simply say that, the 10th paragraph says, today we practice in a form we have attempted earlier. Your readiness is closer now, and you will come today nearer to the Christ vision. If you are intent on reaching it, you will succeed today. And once you have succeeded, you will not be willing to accept the witness that your body's eyes call forth. Because your body's eyes show you a divided world. Your body's eyes show you that you're separated from your brother and sister and from the couch and from the wall. The Christ vision shows us that we are part of the oneness. And so when you've accepted this, you won't be deceived by the images your brain produces, or as it says in the Course in Miracles workbook lessons, your body's eyes. What you see will sing to you of ancient melodies you will remember. You are not forgotten in heaven. And so select someone that you see today. Anybody that you see, make them a symbol of all of the rest of humanity and ask salvation of that person. See him first as clearly as you can in the form in which you're accustomed. Here's eyes, ears, and hands and feet. Watch him smile and make the familiar gestures. And then think this. What you are now seeing conceals from you the sight of one who can forgive all your sins, whose sacred hands can take away the nails which pierce your own hands, whose sacred hands can lift the crown of thorns which you have placed upon your own bleeding head. So ask this of the person you're looking upon. Give me your blessing, holy offspring of creation. I would behold you with the eyes of the Christ mind. And in that, I would see my perfect sinlessness in you. Whoever you're doing that with in your mind will answer in your mind. Be sure that you use this technique instantly if you should be tempted to attack a brother or a sister or have a negative mental thought about a brother or sister throughout the day, which means you will be perceiving them through your symbol of fear, the symbol of fear in your mind. Use this technique and see them as part of the whole, part of the oneness, as a living expression of the creative energy and form, just as you are. And your salvation lies in that. Today's lesson from the Course in Miracles experiment with Pam Grout is lesson 161, is titled Mikara es Sukara. And if you look that up, it means my face is your face, or something close to that. Translations are never 100% accurate. Pam quotes Sarah Silverman as saying, I may not be totally open, but at least I'm ajar. Pam writes, Lesson 161, Give me your blessing, my holy brother, reminds me yet again, I see what I wish to see. The world in my viewfinder is not random. It's carefully designed by my frightened little ego to assure its survival. By showing me a partial world, a world of discreetly curated fragments, the ego gets away with its horror story. Today, I walk out of the theater of the macabre that I make another attempt to go beyond and to reach the light. If I really want this, again, this is not random, it is within my reach to see beyond the ego, beyond the body. Here are instructions straight from the Course in Miracles. I pick one brother or sister and I see them in my mind. I picture her face, his hands, her familiar gestures. Now I ask him, all of this is done in my mind, by the way, for the blessing of seeing him or her as they really are. This simple act of love, looking fully at another human's face, imagining living inside and seeing what's really there, is one of the most radical practices on earth. In an instant, I realize I am not alone. So it's all an inside job. As they say in the movie The Point, the thing is, you see what you want to see and you hear what you want to hear. You ever see Paris? I said, no. You ever see New Delhi? I said, no. That's it. You see what you want to see and you hear what you want to hear. So that's our lesson for today. That's our challenge, to watch any negative thought or impression or emotion that arises in us whenever we look upon anyone or anything today, and to use this tool to ask that person that my egoic mind wants to blame for my upset, ask that person spiritually, intellectually, quietly to myself to bless me, to be part of my salvation, to help me see them the way the Christ mind would see them. It's a powerful tool and technique. I encourage you to try it, as does the Course in Miracles Workbook lessons for today. And let us know what you think. 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. What's on your mind? How would it be most useful for you to spend this day? We had somebody call yesterday and give a very powerful testimonial about how the use of these tools has been incrementally and sometimes by leaps and bounds dramatically improving the quality for life and relationships. Have you tried these tools? Do you see a benefit? Do you have questions about how to best apply them in your life? That's what we're here for. I am thinking in terms of the workbook lesson today and how it resonates with me in line with the Gabor Mate book that on addictions and In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, I believe is the name of the book. And in that book, Dr. Mate is describing working in one of the worst drug-addicted areas in Canada where he lived. And I think he calls it the Portland Hotel, and they've converted this hotel to basically be a place where these drug addicts can live, and they're not being told that it's conditional, that they have to get their act together, or they've got to be in therapy, or they've got to quit using in order to live there. So they're living there, and they're actively using. They're living there, and they are expressing the negativity, the self-harm that comes from the traumas that they've lived through. They're expressing the experience of their pain. They're expressing the running away from their pain, avoiding it by getting into various addictive behaviors. So these are people that are not on the surface at all pleasant to be around for most people. These are people that would make you not just cross the street so you wouldn't be walking on the same side of the road as they are. You would run across the street, hail a cab, keep running, swear to never go into that part of town again, because these are people that are not well washed and cleaned. These are people that are full of sores. These are people that have infections. These are people that have obvious difficulties that would put them in the category of someone you'd want to avoid at all costs. And here's Dr. Mate that choosing to work with them day in and day out, and choosing to apply today's workbook lesson over and over again. And he talks very candidly in the book about how there are times where his egoic mind judges these people exceedingly harshly. And he understands, he has done enough of his own work to understand that that only really happens when his shortcomings, his addictive tendencies, his ego gets activated. His self-loathing is activated. And the blessing that comes into our lives when we ask to be shown how to see anyone as our brother and sister, as the Christ mind would see them, the blessing that comes to us is off the charts good, beyond words. So, that's what we're being invited into in today's workbook lesson. And it's the kind of thing that many people who have practiced it and chosen to work in some of the most difficult circumstances where the other human beings, basically just like us, are in deep pain and that are showing the evidence of running away from their pain, that the symptoms of their disease, mental and physical, is evident. There's no attempt to hide it. And when people are in those situations, the tendency is to judge them negatively and run away. But the blessing that can come to you if you choose to be there and ask to be shown how to see that person as their Creator would see them, the blessings go beyond words each new heartbeat. Abraham Hicks talks about this quite a bit. A simple way to think about this is every time you're feeling negatively, when you look at someone, you're feeling an anger, a fear, a tension, a judgment, every time that discomfort you're feeling, you're experiencing, is a direct product of the difference between the image your Creator holds about the person you're looking at and the image you're holding about the person you're looking at. And if you want to get rid of the pain, ask to be shown how to see the person or the situation that you're looking at through the eyes of your Creator. If you're willing to ask that, you will succeed. That's what the lesson is calling us to today. That's what it says. You can't help but succeed if you are fervent in your request. So, when I start talking about these kinds of things, I frequently get people that say, oh, so you're telling me that I should just let people abuse me and walk all over me and I should put myself in dangerous situations. And I try to get very clear very quickly. I have never said any of those things. That's not even what's being implied in what I'm saying. I'm simply saying that we are far more alike. If we could see all of the ways in which we are exactly like the people we're looking at and judging, we would see there is far more similar, if not identical, between us and everyone we're looking at than any differences our eyes would show us. One of the ways I've said it over the years is to say, the only significant, the only meaningful difference between you and any other person who has ever lived or will ever live is the degree to which you are able to live from the realization that we are all the same. The only significant, the only meaningful difference between you and anyone who's ever lived is the degree to which you're able to live from the realization that we are all the same. Now, if you're like most people, that sounds like gibberish or double talk or a New Age koan, because it seems to be a direct contradiction. And in truth, it holds a truth. It holds an absolute truth that can't be expressed by just saying you're like everybody else. So our eyes show us nothing. They are simply antennas. It is our brain that receives the signal from those antennas that creates an image. And as it talks about, the scientists that measure these kinds of things talk about, in the Anil Seth video that we've mentioned so many times, they tell us that 80 or more percentage of the information that's used by my brain to create the image that I see, 80% of it comes from things other than the signals that my eyes generate when light waves hit them. So 80% of the image that shows up in my mind when I think I'm seeing something outside of me is coming from my past experiences, beliefs, trauma energies, etc. It's not coming from the light waves bouncing off of that object or person and then getting registered in my eyes. 80% of the information that goes into making up the pictures that you see in your mind comes from places other than your eyes. Please try and let that sink in. And that's why it makes such good sense to actually do the practice outlined in today's Course in Miracles workbook lesson. If my eyes were just windows, if I was looking out of them, and there was no distortion in perception, today's lesson wouldn't make any sense at all. It would be as futile as whispering into a hurricane and hoping somebody on the other side of the hurricane could hear you. But the fact of the matter is, the images that show up in our eyes or in our minds that we think come from our eyes, they don't come from our eyes at all. They come from our belief system, they come from our egoic thoughts, they come from our training and conditioning, and there is so much more going on in the world in every moment than what my mind shows me pictures of. And one of those truths, one of those deep, powerful truths, is that we are all part of the same mind and all part of the same creation. And the separation that my eyes show me, that my brain shows me when I think I'm looking through my eyes, is a hallucination. It is an illusion. So, our call-in number is 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. Today is a Thursday, which means there will be another Mind Shifter support group today. I can't promise it will be as intense as Tuesday's group. I don't know exactly what we'll watch, but to explore these principles more, to actually use the tools, to be in community with other people that are looking at gaining an increasing ability to take 100% responsibility for the emotions they create. It's free. You can join us if you have an internet connection from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Central Time tonight. All the information you need to join is available at mindshiftersacademy.org. And we hope you do, or we hope you pass the information along to somebody else that you think might benefit. It's a wonderful place to ask questions about the variety of tools that Michael and Jeannie Ryce make available absolutely free at whyagain.org. It's a wonderful place to come and be in the community of people who are committed to improving their life and relationships. I had somebody reach out to me earlier this week and ask, who's that spiritual teacher you keep talking about in Oregon? His name is Guy Finley. And guyfinley.org is the best way to get good information about him. And like a lot of people throughout this time of coronavirus restrictions, Guy Finley has made all kinds of material available absolutely free. He's done a talk on Sunday and a talk on Wednesday, and some of his students do a talk on Friday, and he's opened that up and made that available absolutely free. All you have to do is type in your email address whenever you go to guyfinley.org/channel, and you can get access to this whole year's worth of at least 3 talks a week. And to get that kind of in-depth material prior to the coronavirus restrictions, to get all of that good, rich, hour-long talks, etc., with Q&A from the callers and explanations by Guy Finley. Prior to this coronavirus year of restriction, they charged a small fee to have a membership to their website. But in the recognition of the need, Guy Finley just, without hesitation, jumped on it and has made that stuff available absolutely free. Very similar to what Michael and Jeannie Ryce do and make available. I think it's something like 3,000 hours now of internet show files that are available. Now that it's been more than 10 years of doing, the first 8 years doing 5 hours a day, or 5 days a week, 1 hour a day, and the last 2 years, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week of this, what would now be called a podcast, but was originally billed as an internet show. Susan, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Tim. This lesson, I have an easy time doing this with a particular grandson with whom I am having a very hard time at the moment. So this is all so raw that I'm not even sure how to come around to it, but I'll just give you a little backstory. This is a grandson who lived with us for a couple of weeks this summer, and things went well, and he went home, and at one point his mother, who is my daughter, called and said, he just isn't aware of what's happening in the house, and I am so busy at work, and he leaves dishes in the sink and food in the sink and messy this is and that. And I've asked him to do chores, and if I ask him to do a specific chore, he may snap at me, but he does it, but I have to ask him. And I thought, well, Tim Bingham and I have been giving him an allowance every week. So without bringing my daughter into it, I just said, you know, an allowance is in our household, we got our allowance as a result of doing chores. That was sort of the deal. And I would love it if you could, because we give him quite a nice allowance every week. And I said, I would love it now that you're home. We didn't do this at college, but when you were at college, but at home, how would you feel about making a list of household chores and sending it to me on Wednesdays, and then I'll send you your allowance on Thursdays? Well, I didn't hear from him. This was last week. Didn't hear a word. After a few days, I wrote another email and explained how busy his mother is, and it's good training anyway, and so forth. Well, I figured he was angry because he didn't answer that either. Today is his allowance day, so I got an email from him, a text, and I have the whole transcript here. I guess my overall question is, sure, I can see the divine in him. It's no trouble feeling love for him, but on a very practical level, something isn't working. And I did a worksheet on it this morning and came out with an enlightened goal of love Jacob unconditionally, which I do, love myself unconditionally also, and stick to my plan without guilt. Ask Jacob what he needs. Well, he was extremely angry that I would make these requests. He said he'd been doing lots of chores, helping out all the time, but he did say, I do whatever my mother asks me. So I said, well, why does she have to ask you? Open your eyes and just look around and do stuff. You're living there free of charge, and you're getting food, and she cooks, and we got into this awful argument, and he said he's been talking to his therapist, and our family is extremely dysfunctional, and I'm triangulating with my daughter and all this stuff, and I really feel like Tar Baby, that old story. I don't know how to go from here. He finally said, I don't have any money and I really need it. And he asked for twice as much as his allowance. So I said, if you're really doing chores, that's wonderful. And I'll let you work this out between you and your mother. And it was triangulating, but I didn't tell him that she had complained. I simply said, I'm assuming you're doing stuff down there, and let's make your allowance part of that. But anyway, Dr. Tim, I don't know if you can make out anything from here or want to hear the transcript or how I should go from here, but I'm completely at a loss.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind when you were talking is let's address the denial and the hallucination that he's upset because you anything, or that you're upset because he anything, right? So right. The core of our work is to move into the greater and greater realization that each of us individually creates and therefore can learn to become completely responsible for whatever emotions we experience.
Right.
So he's not angry because you sent this note. And you're not all wrought up because he's freeloading on his mother and putting stress on her as a non-contributing family member. So let's just get clear about that, right? If I'm upset, okay, I'm creating it.
All right.
The next thing is, if you and Tim are giving somebody a gift, it's a gift.
Okay.
But it's yours to give or not give.
Mm-hmm.
You have complete control over whether you continue to give that gift or don't give that gift. If you and Tim are hiring somebody to do a job and paying them based on their ability to complete the job well and in a timely manner, then that's a contract between you and Tim, and you're legally, morally, whatever, bound to fulfill your side of the contract.
Right.
So I would encourage you and Tim to get very clear about what is this thing you're calling an allowance, and is it just a gift, or is it a way for an underage person within the family to earn some money for their discretionary expenses by doing chores? And it's okay either way, because it's your money and it's Tim's money, and you can decide to give it or withhold it, whether the person has done any chores or not. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and we did switch on him. We were giving him this gift, no strings attached. And then I said, there are some strings attached, and that is probably...
Right. Which is okay. I mean, it's yours to give or not give, right? You could give allowance. You can give the gift of money once, or you can give it every month, or you can give it every week, or you can give it for every week for a year and then stop. It's your money to give or not give.
Right.
And there are circumstances that are changing all the time. Somebody matures. They get to a certain age. They change their behavior patterns, so they aren't as respectful around the house. Well, I'm absolutely happy giving somebody a gift, giving them an allowance or whatever, when they're pleasant and they're respectful. But boy, if they turn sour, if they turn to be a burden to the other people in the family, I'm probably not going to be as comfortable giving that gift, because in that instance, now this gift that I was freely giving, it within the system is going to get interpreted as a reinforcement for being rude and disrespectful and selfish. And I don't want to reward that behavior. So you've got this complex system going, right?
Yeah.
And it's changing, it's evolving, as everything does in time. And here's this, how old is this person?
21.
Okay, so he's reached a new age. He's got different, demands that the world in general is going to put on him, new freedoms he's going to have. At 21, he can sign his own contract, etc. But he's also got, every time we get a new freedom, we get an increased responsibility. Every freedom comes with additional responsibilities.
Right.
And whether you see yourself as just somebody who's been giving him gifts, or whether you see yourselves, you and Tim, as part of the co-parenting team, right? Parents and grandparents. That's something you and Tim decide. And I would recommend that you have a conversation with this person's mother, because she's like the core of that team. And I'm of the opinion, the way I was raised and with this kind of accountability and respect for the parents, that I wouldn't be giving money to a child, a minor. Now, this is different now that he's 21, but I wouldn't be giving money to a minor or a child without permission from their parents and understanding what circumstances that would be under, because it might serve to undermine that parent's authority with that child and any leverage that parent might have for this very kind of thing, chores done around the house, etc. Some questions about a very complex topic, and you're seeming to do it in the context of today's lesson from Course in Miracles. And I would just say there's no connection between stopping the allowance, giving the allowance only under certain conditions, etc., or continuing the allowance without any conditions. There's no connection between that and the Course in Miracles lesson. I can see somebody in their wholeness I can see somebody as the same as me. I can see somebody through the Christ mind's eye and not give them money. Does that make sense? Are you there? No, you're not there. So, am I there? Can people hear me? 563-999-3581. Is Susan Bingham there?
Yeah,
hello.
I'm here, and I heard almost everything, Dr. Tim, but somehow the call just dropped for a moment, and I called right back in. So I had to push one again. I only missed the part, and I think I got the meaning, that I should have made arrangement with the parents as to whether I'm giving this allowance. And we had talked about it. It's all set up and everything. But I'm not sure I got all of your meaning in that. And I do understand that I can see my grandson, according to the lesson in the course in Miracles, and still decide not to or to give money. Yeah. Okay. I think I got it.
Yeah, and I would, this whole thing about a therapist telling your grandson that you're triangulating with, okay, that's a word, triangulating. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything good or bad. That means you talk to his mother talks to you, and you talk to him, and she talks to him, and that's just communication in a family, right? And so it's the kind of thing that can get sorted out, and it can get sorted out very, with direct communication. It's also the kind of thing that, if your son or your grandson in this case is used to getting unquestioned influx of money without regard for his behavior, his attitude, chores around the house, etc., and all of a sudden that money dries up, he can choose all kinds of negative emotional responses and judgments, but that doesn't mean you have to change what you're doing.
That's good.
And there are a lot of things that happen with us in our lives around the time that we hit our teen years and our early 20s that we aren't always happy about. But they're a part of the process of maturity and responsibility and the complexities of life in this culture we have set up. And it's not up to the world to make us happy. Right? And if there's a situation where your grandson says, I really need this money, okay, but you're not his instant, constant, abundant supply of money. He's probably a quite intelligent 21-year-old with his own resources and probably capable of doing chores or getting a job or picking up some part-time jobs during the summer to get his own money.
Right. Boy, a lot of worksheets and clarifications needed here, but your clarity is helpful.
Well, I'm glad you think so. But begin at the beginning, which is to get really clear about the fact that he's not mad at you because of something you did. Right? He could just as easily have a powerful dream or spiritual awakening insight and say, oh my gosh, Graham, this is perfect timing to help me realize that I wasn't really being a good family member, and stepping up my efforts, and I'm going to start making the meals and doing the dishes for Mom, and on and on and on. He could just as easily have that response.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be creating that either.
Yeah.
He's creating his response, and you're creating yours. All the worry, all the fretting, all the negative thoughts about, you're being told that some therapist has labeled you as a dysfunctional family in your triangulation. All of the negative emotions you generate around that, those are yours. Tapping, breathing, goal-canceling worksheets on that stuff, that's what's called for here.
Yeah.
And after you do that, then decide on a response to your grandson.
Okay.
But here's another cautionary tale. It is it's really counterproductive to try and hide the fact that his mother informed you about his lack of doing things around the house, or her dissatisfaction with his behavior or performance. Now we're doing indirect communication, and now we are lying. All right, we're introducing deceit, and now we're keeping secrets, and now so the most powerful, effective tool for clearing things up in a family system is direct communication. And one of the most devastating, unproductive, even destructive patterns within family communication is indirect communication.
Well, we're guilty of that.
Yeah, almost every family is. And the only way to clear it up is start wherever you can, whenever you can, doing the direct communication.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stories abound. I've got them from my own caseload. I've got them from my own family, where so-and-so Sue talks about Mark with Larry, and Larry talks with Brian about Susan, and then it gets back to Susan that Larry, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
And everybody's upset, and you're in a room full of people where half of the people know everything that's going on, and the other half know only a portion, and people get offended left and right, and no one can straighten it out because I'm not allowed to tell Sue what Larry told me in private. And so every time I agree to keep a secret from somebody in my family or friends network, I'm tangling the web. I'm tying knots in the fishing line.
Right.
It's not going to go well.
Right. You're right. This is good, Dr. Tim, because I haven't been truthful with Jacob. His mother did talk to me. I wanted to protect her. I've got to fix that. I can fix that.
Yeah, well, wow, what a load you just put out right there. What are you protecting her from?
His rage. He's a lot like his father, and he really gets mean. So.
Wait a minute. You're giving somebody a weekly allowance, a very generous weekly allowance, while they are raging at your other family members?
Yep.
Wow.
Okay,
there's something that you could start questioning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dr. Tim, this is such a mess. It's to remain on his good side. Yeah.
Not such a good thing.
No.
And, from the perspective of the person who's raging, they're literally getting told in the behaviors of people who are paying them this unquestioned, you're calling it an allowance, but this unquestioned stipend, they're getting told their behavior is perfectly acceptable, that they're raging at their mother or other family members is perfectly acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And in the context of that money coming every week, when, people know what his behavior is or his raging is, that money coming every week is a tacit, it's an explicit validation that it's okay to rage.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how many times you say to somebody, please don't rage, that's unacceptable, don't talk to me that way, don't talk to your mother that way. If that person is paying you a stipend, allowance, whatever you want to call it, and they don't say, if you don't stop this, you're not going to get your stipend, then their behavior is saying it's perfectly okay to keep doing this behavior, this raging, this verbal and or emotional abuse of others in the family. Especially because it's not tied to any completion of household projects or chores or work that's been contracted. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah. This has uncovered a huge thing that needs attention. Yeah. I don't even know what to say, Dr. Kim, but I think I know what I need to do. I have a whole, because this whole interchange with my grandson happened with text, I saved them all and printed them all because they're really shocking. And I think his mother said that he's smoking pot, and when he gets low on the pot, he needs money to pay for the pot. He's at school, so he doesn't have a job. But he gets nasty when he doesn't have his pot. And she says that's not the whole of it. That's part of it. But, yeah, anyway, you don't need to handle all this, Dr. Kim, not on this radio show, I'm afraid.
Right, and that's okay. And I just want to come back to the basics with you and say you have really good tools for dealing with your side of this equation. Yeah. And because you are a family member, the more you do that, the more you stay respectful, the more you hold your boundaries, the more you do your own work and return yourself to that calm, loving space before you choose how to respond to these other people, that's the more you're going to be teaching them and have that powerfully positive impact on them, not by getting them to use the tools, but by demonstrating through your life process, by your interactions with them and theirs with you, that these tools are improving your life. These tools are helping you restore yourself to calm. These tools are helping you focus on the things you have control over. What were you going to say?
If you read these texts, you will see that I've been using the tools. I stayed calm and loving and reminded him how much we love him and made some serious suggestions, but stayed in my okay space. And I'm glad because I think at least part of me was healthy enough. But this whole other thing about giving allowance when he's doing what he's doing, that's something I hadn't even asked myself about, and that's going to change now.
So I'm breathing with you and
Thanks.
encouraging you to just keep using the tools on yourself and hopefully have some shift in options and bring in things like knowledge of how powerfully effective, helpful it is to do direct communication rather than indirect communication.
Yeah.
And, you know, in some of these situations, you want to recognize that if you've got somebody who's raging, you might use indirect communication to keep people safe or to keep things from getting, you know, more agitated and upset. But the goal is always to restore the direct communication as soon as you can with everyone being safe.
Right.
So, right, if you're in a situation where you think, well, you know, if I say this to him and let him know that, and then he's going to be going home with his mother, and he's going to rage, and she might not be safe, then you don't use a rule and apply it blindly just because it's a good rule. You look at each situation and you say safety first, safety first, safety first. And in some of those situations where people rage or get abusive, it might be necessary to do some indirect communication.
Yeah. Okay.
You breathing?
Yeah, I am now. Yeah. Speaking of breathing, I'm halfway through your talk with that young psychotherapist, functional medicine man.
Psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Integrative psychiatrist, Dr. Andrew Pleener.
Yes. Pleener, yes, it's very good. I haven't finished it yet, but it's really good.
Well, I'm glad you think so. I'm glad that that's helpful to whoever it's helpful to. And we've reached the end of our first hour. So there's another hour coming up. Is this an all right stopping point for you?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Dr. Tim, it is.
All right. Well, feel free to keep me posted, and blessings. And
Thank you.
we have, I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. And Michael and Jeannie are otherwise occupied and probably don't have internet. So the second hour today is going to be a replay of the Why Again workshop that happened once upon a time. So here it is for the archives and for your listening enjoyment.